Would you believe me if I told you there's a way to make hard things feel easy? An actual system that tricks your brain into doing things you've been avoiding for months, and I figured it out from a guy who burned his own ships. In 1519, a Spanish conquistador named Hernán Cortés landed in Mexico with 600 men to face millions of Aztecs. His soldiers wanted to leave, so he burned every ship. All of them. Insane? Yes. Genius? Also yes. Because Cortés understood something about the human brain that explains why you can scroll TikTok for 3 hours but can't study for 30 minutes. Once you understand it, you can use your biology against itself to make hard things feel easy. Here are 5 principles to do exactly that. Principle 1. Trap yourself. We're in Mexico. It's 1519. The ships are on fire. Cortés's men are watching their only way home turn into smoke. Why? Because Cortés understood something about the human brain. When retreat is an option, your brain will negotiate. It will bargain. It will find excuses. Maybe tomorrow. Just this once. I'll do it twice next week. Sound familiar? Of course it does. Your brain does this every day. But when retreat isn't an option, your brain stops negotiating. It starts problem solving instead. No plan B means plan A actually works. That's not motivation. That's design. The behavioral scientists have a name for this. They call them forcing functions. Fancy words for a simple idea. Create constraints that corner you into growth. Here are 4 forcing functions you can set for yourself. First, public commitment. Tell people what you're going to do. Announce it. Social pressure is one of the oldest motivators on Earth. Your brain hates looking stupid more than it hates hard work. Second, financial stakes. Pay before you feel ready. The gym membership, the course, the coaching. When your wallet is invested, your brain follows. That's why Cortés's army fought so hard. They'd already paid. In ships. Third, cut the access. Delete the app. Block the site. Unplug the TV. Your brain can't negotiate with something that doesn't exist. Fourth, time box. Give the task a hard window. 90 minutes. Ship something at the end of it. No extensions. No negotiations. These seem too simple to work. That's exactly why they do. Oh, and Cortés? He won. 600 men conquered millions. Because there was no way back, they found a way to victory. Simple systems are the hardest to break. But wait, there's a problem. You'll try these and fail anyway. Why? Willpower. You don't have enough of it. Nobody does. Here's why. Principle 2. Assume you're tired. We have to go to a laboratory. Why? Roy Baumeister is there. He's a psychologist. He has cookies, fresh-baked ones. Baumeister brought people into his lab. He put those warm, delicious cookies right in front of them. Half of them were told not to eat them. Don't touch. Just sit there and smell them. The other half? No restrictions. Eat whatever you want. After a while, both groups were given puzzles to solve. Impossible puzzles. The kind designed to make you quit. Now you're thinking, the people who resisted cookies had more willpower, so they did better on the puzzles. Right? Wrong. The cookie resistors gave up 50% faster. Wait, what? The people with more willpower actually had less persistence. That makes no sense. Except it does. Here's the explanation. Willpower isn't infinite. It's like a fuel tank. Every decision you make drains it. Every distraction you fight drains it. Every cookie you resist drains it. By evening, the tank is empty. That's not weakness. That's biology. Judges deny parole more often in the afternoon than in the morning. Same cases, same facts, different time of day. Their mental fuel is depleting. Are they idiots? No, they're human. So are you. We keep trying to solve a biological problem with motivational solutions. Just have more willpower. That's like saying, just be taller. It doesn't work. So if willpower doesn't work, what does? We have to go to a running track. Why? Noah Lyles is there, and he has ADHD. Principle 3. Automate the action. Noah Lyles is the world's fastest man right now. He doesn't chase willpower. He doesn't chase discipline either. He engineers something else entirely. See? Lyles has ADHD. He knows his brain can't be trusted to show up consistently, so he doesn't rely on it. He relies on his internal rhythm instead. Same track, same playlist, same warm-up, same movements. 6 days a week, every week. No variation, no thinking. When the gun goes off, he says something interesting. I'm not thinking. My body already knows what to do. That's not discipline. That's design. He's not fighting his biology. He's using it. The margin between gold and silver is 1/500th of a second. Those routines give him that edge. Why wouldn't you use the same logic? A psychologist at NYU named Peter Gollwitzer wanted to test this. He took students trying to exercise over Christmas break and divided them into two groups. First group got goal-setting advice. Work out more, eat healthy, vague intentions, good vibes. Second group got something different, an if-then plan. If it's Monday at 7 a.m., then I'm at the gym. Same motivation, different instructions. The results were insane. Goal setters failed 62% of the time. If-then planners failed only 9% of the time. Same people, same motivation, wildly different results. Why? Because your brain runs on algorithms. If X, then Y. If this happens, do that. It's simple, it's powerful, it works. If it's 3 p.m., Thursday, deep work starts, no debate. If you finished lunch, you walk 15 minutes. No debate. If it's Friday afternoon, you review your week. No debate. If this video helped, then hit subscribe. No debate. Take out the drama. Take out the negotiation. Run the algorithm. But even perfect algorithms fail sometimes. There's one more thing you need. We have to go to a hospital. Why? Surgeons are killing people. By accident. Mostly. Principle 4. Assume you'll forget. Atul Gawande is a famous surgeon. He was curious about something disturbing. World-class surgeons were making preventable mistakes. Mistakes they knew better than to make. These weren't bad doctors. They were excellent doctors having bad moments. So Gawande worked with the World Health Organization and developed a 19-step surgical checklist. You think it's super technical, right? Complex medical procedures? Wrong. They were much simpler than you would think. Things like confirm the patient's identity, make sure antibiotics are given, mark the correct leg to operate on, so you don't chop off the wrong one. Elementary stuff every surgeon knows. When hospitals put this simple checklist into practice, something remarkable happened. Post-surgical complications fell by 36%. Deaths dropped by 47%. Same surgeons, same skills, same hospitals. Just a checklist. When cognitive load peaks, even experts fail, the checklist catches them. Here's the paradox nobody talks about. The better you get at something, the more you need systems. Not less. More. Pilots with 10,000 hours of flying still read the same checklist every single flight. Not because they forgot how to fly, because they don't trust their memory under pressure, and they're right not to. You can use this too. I make 3 checklists for my life. The to-do list for execution. What must get done today. The to-want list for expansion. What I'm building toward this month. The to-be list for evolution. Who I'm becoming this year. These aren't about bureaucracy. They're about creating bandwidth for your brain so it can focus on what actually matters. The hard things. By the way, I put all of this into a 1-page algorithm you can print. The forcing functions, the if-then planner, even those 3 lists I just mentioned. Links in the description. It's free. But there's still one final problem. What if your brain tries to bypass the system entirely? We have to go to a monastery. Why? Monks figured something out. Principle 5. Become the system. Harvard researchers wanted to understand meditation, so they scanned the brains of Tibetan monks during their practice. What they found was strange. The monks' brainwaves synchronized perfectly across all individuals, in rhythm with each other, like they were sharing one brain. But here's what's important. These monks weren't trying to focus. They weren't trying to motivate themselves. They weren't white-knuckling their way through meditation. Years of repetition had done something to their nervous systems. It had evolved into the pattern. They didn't need motivation to meditate anymore. Their biology was doing the work. So what's the secret these monks can teach us? Motivation doesn't drive repetition. Repetition drives motivation. When your brain can predict the cadence, something shifts. It starts craving the cue. You stop pushing yourself. Your biology starts pulling you forward. Think about Roger Federer's serve. It seems effortless, beautiful, natural. But that's a myth. It's not effortless at all. It's thousands and thousands of reps, countless years, day after day, night after night. But here's what happens. The pattern takes over. Your brain stops chasing the reward. It starts craving the repetition itself. The hard thing becomes the easy thing. Not because it got easier, because you got different. Don't try to change your entire life tonight. That's how people fail. They try to fix everything at once. Instead, design one tiny rule that changes your tomorrow. Just one. Pick one task you've been avoiding. Set the time. Set the place. Set the trigger. Write it down. If X, then Y. Build the right systems. Those systems will build the right you. But here's the thing. You can build all the systems you want, but if you're slow at learning the skills you actually need to make those systems work, what's the point? Most people set up perfect routines, then take months to learn what others learn in days. That's why I made this video breaking down exactly how to learn anything so fast it's almost unfair. Watch it next.